them at this time, and I'll tell all of them off the air. I'll tell them now that we really appreciate them coming. Now, let me get the elephant out of the room here. These podiums, I appreciate Poole Funeral Home and Cremation Services for bringing the podiums. Now, Bridget, you said some look like Revival, others look like a funeral home. So, but I appreciate it very. You got your hanky, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, very nice. All right, so here we go. We have our District Attorney General, Sherry Taylor.
Good morning.
Good morning. We have right here, we have Jeff Miller. Jeff?
Good morning. Good morning, Steve.
And then we have Stephen Hatchett.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here very much.
Thank you.
So it's very important. So what we want to do this hour, and what we'll be doing this year, is bringing candidates together to get their ideas and their and your questions out in the public. So that is what we're going to do. So here's the format. As I've just told them, we're going to have a 2-minute opening, and then we'll have, when I ask a question, there'll be a 2-minute time for response, and then a 2-minute close. All right, so we're going to begin with the opening. We're going to begin with Sherry Taylor, District Attorney General. And again, 2 minutes for an open here. Sherry.
Oh, thank you, Steve. I appreciate you having us this morning. I'm Sherry Taylor. I'm your district attorney. I was appointed in July of last year by Governor Lee. I was chosen because I'm the most qualified person for this job. For 25 years, I have prosecuted. I've been practicing law for 31 years, but 25 of those have been prosecution. I started in 1994. And then in 2006, I went into private practice for a couple years. Then I went back to prosecuting, and then in Blount County, and then came back here in 2016 and have been prosecuting ever since. I was also the deputy district attorney when I came back in 2016. It is very important that the district attorney have experience doing this job. It is important because and it's important to me because over my 25 years, I've been holding criminals accountable. I have worked closely with law enforcement, training them, assisting them as they are investigating cases and building cases. Also, it's very important because there are victims that need experience in this job to walk along beside them when something happens to them and they are victimized. I have tried over 126 jury trials. 27 of those have been homicides. I have 27 homicide convictions. 15 of those are first-degree murder convictions, and that includes death penalty convictions. I'm the only person here that has ever tried a death penalty case. I'm the only person in this office that has ever done that as well. And so I'm asking you, and I will ask you again at the end of this, for your vote to keep me as your district attorney. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. And now I want to go to Jeff Miller. And Jeff, 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Good morning, and thank you very much for having this forum for us today. My name is Jeff Miller, and I want to be your next district attorney. I have 35 years experience as a trial lawyer, and I have been in court since day one. The first day that I was eligible to be an attorney, I had a trial that very day, and I've been in the courtroom presenting evidence ever since. And I've represented all kinds of clients all across the board. I'm uniquely qualified to be the district attorney because of my leadership experience. I was serving you in the state senate for 12 years, and during that period of time, I passed very tough laws. I listened to the prosecutors, and I passed tough laws against violent crime, tough laws against burglary, tough laws against home invasions, tough laws against the elderly. We did the first Truth in Sentencing Act when I was in the legislature that guaranteed that the person convicted would do 100% of their sentence. Now the courts intervened after that, but we did our very best to do it at the time. But when I was in the state senate, I rose to leadership. I was elected by my fellow senators to be the caucus chairman. And in that role, I had to get people together, build consensus, and execute a plan. And that's what the DA really does in this district. The predecessor that Ms. Taylor was hired by, Jerry Estes, he didn't have any prosecutorial experience when he first was elected DA. And when he was elected DA for 16 years, he only tried one case during the whole 16 years. So that just goes to show that this is a leadership position. It's a managerial position, and I am uniquely qualified to do that and to take the 10th Judicial District where it needs to go.
Jeff, out of fairness, we had an issue with the microphones, and I fully blame Bridget. So let's just go ahead and do that. No, I want to go back. I want to give you another 30 seconds. If you can go back to the beginning of your statement, out of fairness, I want to go back to. So if you can begin, maybe give us the first half minute or so.
Well, I didn't have it presented that way, but I'll try to remember what I said at the first. No, I'm uniquely qualified to be the district attorney because of my experience, 35 years in presenting evidence in the courtroom. That's what the DA does. That's what any prosecutor does. They present evidence against defendants in the courtroom. And I've been doing that for 35 years, very successfully, I might add. And so I'm qualified in that regard. I'm also qualified, uniquely qualified over my opponents because I have leadership experience. And I believe that that will take the 10th Judicial District where it needs to go.
Thank you, Jeff. Stephen Hatchett, 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Good morning, Steve. I appreciate you all putting this on. I'm gonna be as brief as I can when I answer these questions because actually the District Attorney General sets crime control policy. That's what the District Attorney General does. It's not a managerial position. The thing that separates me from both of my opponents is two things. Number one, I went to college, I got a degree in crime. That's what I know. I know crime. I've been an attorney almost 20 years. I was a prosecutor for almost 8. I know crime. And that is the role of the district attorney. The district attorney is to fight crime. I have been endorsed by 2 former sheriffs of Bradley County. I've been endorsed by numerous current law enforcement officers. I've been endorsed by numerous former law enforcement officers. I've been endorsed by the Tennessee Conservative. The district attorney general has to lead. And that is what we have to do moving into the future. We're in dire straits in this country. We have a lot of problems. We have a lot of issues. And the district attorney has to make bold decisions. They have to make decisive decisions. And all of those decisions have to be designed to keep the community safe and make the community safer than it is right now. So the reason I'm running is very simple. I have the knowledge, I have the experience, and that is what is going to keep this community safe. So I appreciate you putting this on. Hopefully we have questions. Hopefully we have ideas and plans that all of us put out there to talk about because it is important, and I certainly would appreciate everyone's vote. Thank you.
All right, the 2-minute opening statements from our candidates. And now we have actually, when we started promoting this forum today, we began to get people contacting us with questions and that sort of thing. So some of this is a mixture of what we came up with and some from the public. And one from the public, and I tell you, we're going to begin with Jeff Miller on this one. So talk about, this of course for all 3 of you, but talk about your years of experience in criminal prosecution, your success rate, which this person said is their biggest issue in the campaign, and then maybe a second part of the question is your proudest achievement in prosecution. Okay.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the question, but respectfully, I don't think that's the right question to ask. I think the question to ask is what the person brings to the table that is needed in the 10th Judicial District. What's needed in the 10th Judicial District is leadership. And that's exactly what the DA does. And whenever my opponent says it's not a managerial position, that's just not true because there's a myriad of employees, there's a myriad of assistant DAs, and then you also get with the sheriffs, the chiefs of police, and you try to build consensus and move in a common direction. So I have been an attorney for 35 years. I've been presenting evidence in court for 35 years, from day one until just this week. So I know how to present evidence. That's what the DA does. That's what a prosecution does. And I know how to do it very well. And I can do that and be a leader that the 10th Judicial District needs. Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to go to Sherry Taylor. Same question, Sherry, and I'll just repeat it. Talk about your years of experience as far as criminal prosecution, your success rate. This person believes it's the biggest issue in the campaign, and then also your proudest achievement as a prosecutor.
Well, my experience is 25 years of prosecution. I started in 1994, as I said, and I think I was started in November of 94. In December of 94, my first felony trial was in Polk County, and it was a homicide. And the jury came back and convicted. My success rate, it fluctuates because that's what happens when you handle cases. It ranges around between 88% to 97% of conviction rate. It is important that the district attorney have experience, contrary to what my opponent just said. You have to know how to do this job, because even though you are managing people at times, those people come to you and ask you questions about, hey, I've got this problem in this case. Let's talk about it. How do I handle it? And quite frankly, I have prosecuted just about any kind of case that you can imagine. And so I have that experience to help those that are working for me. I mean, I do it all the time. I did it yesterday when I was in the office, talking to them about the cases that they have, the evidence that they have. There's a big difference between prosecuting a criminal case and handling a civil matter. The burdens of proof are different. The laws are different. You have to know criminal law, because we're talking about criminal offenses. So experience in criminal prosecution is extremely important. And quite frankly, my predecessor that hired me, Jerry Estes, he tried more than one case when he was in the district attorney's office. He tried plenty of cases before he came to the office as a criminal defense attorney. And while he was district attorney, he tried a lot of different cases in that, not just one. So it is very important to have experience in this office. And I don't know if my 2-minute timer's up or not, Bridget, because it started flashing. So
I think so. Well, and here's
but I'm finished. I'm going to go ahead and let Mr. Hatchett.
We're blaming Bridget for everything.
Yes.
So that's just our bottom line here. All right, same question. I'll repeat it, Stephen, and that is talk about your years of experience in criminal prosecution, success rate. This person said it was the biggest issue for them in the campaign. And then your proudest achievement as a prosecutor.
Well, I will not blame Bridget for anything. It might get me some more time. So I was a prosecutor for right at 8 years down here in Bradley County, and experience does matter. Like I said previously, the District Attorney General has to set crime control policy. The only way you're going to know if you're effective as a district attorney is if you have that experience, because if you don't have it, you don't understand what you're doing. You don't understand. You can put out sound bites and you can say things that are good catchphrases, but if you don't have that experience behind you, if you don't have that wisdom behind you, you're not going to be effective. So the years of criminal prosecution, I think it does matter. The almost 8 years that I have, it matters. I was the primary prosecutor down here for violent crimes. I was the primary prosecutor for crimes against children. Let me tell you something. If you've never been a prosecutor and prosecuted a crime involving a child victim, you're going to have a hard time being district attorney. You're going to have a hard time leading that office. You're going to have a hard time talking to your assistant DAs about what it takes to prosecute those crimes. Terrible crimes, horrible crimes. And you better have experience if you're going to lead a team of assistant DAs prosecuting cases where children have been victims. My proudest moment, I tried a double homicide down here in Bradley County. It was a terrible case. I went up against a veteran defense attorney, Randy Rogers. He's passed on now. Randy was a great lawyer. It was about a week-long trial. The whole back room of the courtroom was filled with cameras. We got a conviction on that. I agree with Ms. Taylor. Your conviction rate varies. Mine, as a prosecutor, probably 92, 93%.
Okay. All right, I tell you, we're going to do one more question, and then we're going to take a short break. And I do want to thank our sponsors just overall of Mix 104.1 and MixTV.tv. We're on Talk 101.3 The Buzz. They're allowing us to have shortened commercial breaks this hour because it's just so important to bring these candidates' ideas to you and their answers. So thank you very much. All right, so one question. We're going to take a short break. One more question, I should say. And that is, What do you plan to accomplish in your, if elected, in your first 30 days to 90 days? This was another contributed question. So between, let's say, your first 30 days up to about 90 days, that first 3 months per se, of if you're elected. And Stephen Hatchett, we're going to begin with you.
The very first thing that I'm going to do is implement the plan that I have articulated. I've discussed it for about 6 months now. Actually, the first time publicly that I spoke about it was on this show, Steve, and that's to tackle the drug problem. I have laid out a plan to protect the borders of the 10th Judicial District. I said 6 months ago there's nothing we can do about the southern border. It's a train wreck. But we can protect the borders of the 10th Judicial District. So in the first 30 to 90 days, that plan is going to go into effect. If you bring drugs across any of the county lines of the 10th Judicial District, we will seek the maximum amount of prison time that we can get. And that will be a bright line rule, and everyone will know it. That plan will, I believe it will make our community safer. I believe it'll make the rate of drug trafficking in our community go down. I said this yesterday. Bradley County per capita has a higher rate of drug activity currently than Hamilton County. Drug-related crimes in Bradley County since 2014 have increased almost 70%. So first 30 to 90 days, that's going to be the plan. We're also going to tackle the backlog, but now the backlog is going to take longer than 30 to 90 days. But the plan that I have articulated, that I've laid out, that will be the very first thing in the first 30 to 90 days. That's what we're going to work on. Thank you.
All right. Jeff Miller, same question. If elected, first 30 days to 90 days, what the person said.
We're going to start implementing my plan to get tough on violent crime by identifying the cases, evaluating the cases, and taking those cases to court swiftly and fairly. We're going to try to go after the drug dealers, the fentanyl dealers. We're going to try to identify them, and we're going to bring them to justice quickly and fairly with maximum sentences. We're going to have to evaluate those cases. We're going to also do better with victim notification. We're going to start a program where the assistant DAs and myself and the whole staff will notify the victims of crimes before the court and before any plea bargaining is done. We're also going to implement a program where we get with the arresting officers and have them have input. That's something that I've learned on the campaign trail that has not been done very well recently. The victims are not notified. They are finding out after the fact that someone has pled guilty or pled guilty to a lesser charge, or there was a court that day. Officers are feeling left out because they don't have any input whatsoever on what goes on with the plea bargaining or with the courts or the dismissals of cases. So we're going to implement that, and we're going to do it fast, and we're going to let the 10th Judicial District know that if you commit a crime within the boundaries of our counties, that your punishment is going to be swift and severe.
Okay, thank you all for your responses. We're going to take a quick break right here. Again, I appreciate you listening or watching here. And remember, if you're just joining us,
yeah, I could answer that question.
You know what, Sherry, blame Bridget. That's just the bottom line.
I'm going to have to shift the blame to you at this point.
Everybody else does. I apologize, Sherry.
That's okay.
I apologize. Okay. Sherry Taylor, your 2-minute response.
Well, I don't have to tell you what I'm going to do in the first 30 to 90 days because I've already been doing that. When I was appointed by Governor Lee, I started to build upon the things that I had already helped build upon when my predecessor was in office. One of the things that I was able to do was expand our DUI unit. In the past, over the past 20 or so years, there's only been one person that has been prosecuting DUIs in the district, and that was just very unmanageable. There's just, it wasn't something that somebody could do and be effective at it. So I've been able to expand that. So now we have 2 assistant DAs that prosecute DUI and DUI-related crimes in the district. So one in McMinn and Monroe, one in Bradley and Polk. And that is becoming very effective. We are seeing good results with that expansion. Also, the Drug Task Force that falls under the District Attorney's Office, we've expanded that. Athens Police Department has rejoined the Drug Task Force. McMinn County Sheriff's Office has added another officer to the Drug Task Force. And that's important because as the Drug Task Force can focus on more in-depth drug investigations, they can go and target and build cases against those individuals that are the dealers and suppliers that are in our district. And that's exactly what the Drug Task Force has done. We just finished the Drug Task Force just finished with TBI a very intense investigation. We have been very successful in the prosecution. Most of those, there's only one that's left to be sentenced. He's the ringleader, but everybody else that was indicted and prosecuted are serving between 30 and 40 years in prison. This last individual, in his sentencing, we expect him to receive around 60 years. So we are tough on crime. We have been tough on crime. I have always been tough on crime. You can ask all the guys in prison that I put there. And so we'll continue to build on that. And, you know, I disagree with what my opponent says about victims being notified, because we do that, but it can always be improved. And you're telling me my time's up because you're looking at me like
I
it's
know.
up.
We're gonna have to move on.
That's
and
okay.
We are gonna take a break. I apologize. We are gonna take a break. Did I get everybody?
Yes.
You want to say anything? You okay? All right. So we are going to take a break right here. Thank you very much to Poole Funeral Home and Cremation Services. They are sponsoring our debate. We're going to be doing these each election cycle this year, and I really appreciate you joining us. So stand by if you're just joining us. You've missed any of it, you can watch it on mixtv.tv. That'll be available on demand. We'll be right back in just a moment. Stand by. Come see the great savings this February at Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland. Mountain View Nissan's offering 0%.
Hi, I'm Brian Poole, sole owner of Poole Serenity Funeral Home and Cremation Services of Cleveland. It's going to be more of our discount funeral home and cremation center. We'll offer $895 cremation that will come with a wood urn. Only other charges the family have be for death certificates and permits. That's it. No other hidden charges, no other hidden fees. And we have a traditional burial package, $4,595. That does include a casket and the services. You can reach us at www.pfhserenity.com.
Peyton Southeastern in Cleveland is hiring case selectors. Starting pay at $19 an hour. Earning potential up to $23 an hour plus incentive pay. Additional $2 an hour night shift premium. And you're eligible to earn a $3,000 stay bonus. Flexible schedules and great benefits at Peyton Southeastern in Cleveland. They have open interviews Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 9 to 11 a.m. and from 1 to 3 p.m. Apply online at jobs.kroger.com to work at Peyton Southeastern in Cleveland.
Elevate your siding projects with Cleveland Exteriors. Ascend fiberglass siding built with lasting beauty and low maintenance. Cleveland Exteriors, your trusted partner for exceptional siding. Visit clevelandexteriors.com or call today.
Choosing the right healthcare plan for you and your family can be overwhelming. Direct Primary Care Associates' new pharmacy benefits is the best choice for you and your family. With personalized attention, convenient telemedicine options, and free generic medications, Direct Primary Care Associates Pharmacy Benefits offers everything you need to keep you and your family healthy and happy. Say goodbye to long wait times, rushed appointments, and unexpected medical bills. Visit our website to learn more about how Direct Primary Care Associates can provide the best healthcare experience for you and your family. Direct Primary Care Associates, affordable healthcare for all.
3 The Buzz. And again, if you are just joining us, thank you for joining us. It's our debate series that we do. We started this a couple of years ago in the mornings, where we bring candidates in, and we want, of course, we've got a lot of questions from the public, and to get their answers out there as you really make an informed vote. And of course, you can vote early through the 27th of this month, Election Day, March 5th. All right, let's get back to it. And we have another question here and that is, here's the question. What steps will you take, if elected, to strengthen the relationship with law enforcement and the District Attorney's Office in the 10th District? Going to begin with Sherry Taylor on this one. Again, let me repeat. What steps will you take, or would you take, to strengthen the relationship with law enforcement in the 10th Judicial District? 2 minutes.
Well, I can tell you that right now our relationship, the District Attorney's Office relationship with law enforcement, is the best that it has ever been. From my experience when I started in '94 until now, I have been obviously in the district attorney's office when that relationship was not good, and it was very hard to get things done. But we're finding that over the past, 10 years, it has improved incredibly. I talk very frequently with the 4 sheriffs, with the chiefs, even with the line officers. You know, one of the things that that we have done in the office that we did before I was appointed was that we have an on-call phone that all law enforcement have the number to, so they can contact us, you know, even if it's in the middle of the night, if they've got a question about anything. They use that on-call phone. And I thought, and sometimes if they don't use the on-call phone, they just call the assistants directly. I got a lot of calls when I was an assistant. As DA, I still get those calls, and I welcome them, and I tell law enforcement when they say, "Oh, I'm sorry that I bothered you." I'm like, "No, I'm glad that you're bothering me. I want to help you. What is your question?" That's why experience is important, because when you get those calls in the middle of the night from law enforcement, they want to be able to trust the answer that they're getting from you. And they trust me, and I have always worked well with them. I also teach at the Cleveland State Law Enforcement Academy. I've done that for years. I did take a break, but I've been back for the past couple of years teaching there. So I'm pouring into them and helping them, because I want law enforcement to do the best job they can do. Because when they do that, then that makes my job easier when we are at the prosecution stage and we're in court and we are putting that evidence in front of a jury and letting that jury decide guilt.
All right, thank you. And same question now for Stephen Hatchett. The question is, what steps would you take, if elected, to strengthen the relationship with law enforcement in the 10th District?
You know, it sounds kind of silly, but I'll tell you one thing that I've been told by law enforcement officers here in Bradley County is that when they go up to the district attorney's office, they have to be let in, they have to be escorted, they have to be taken to whoever they're going to see. And I don't know if that's true. I don't have any reason to doubt what these officers are telling me. If that's true, that's not going to be the case with me. When you say you have an open door, you need to have an open door. If law enforcement comes up to the DA's office and says, "I need to go see whichever assistant DA," or come to see me, they're going to be able to get in there to see me. The relationship between law enforcement and the district attorney's office is vital, because you're not going to identify and get the people off the streets that you need to get off the streets if you don't have that line of communication with law enforcement. I've already mentioned that I've been endorsed by 2 former sheriffs of Bradley County. I've been endorsed by multiple current law enforcement officers, former law enforcement officers. If you drive around the 10th Judicial District, if there's a patrol car sitting in a driveway and there's a campaign sign in the yard, 9 times out of 10 it's a Stephen Hatchett sign. So the relationship, strengthening the relationship with law enforcement is vitally important. Here's the other thing. I mentioned that I have a degree in criminology. You have to be able to talk to law enforcement. You have to be able to talk to them as a professional. When I talk about crime, those law enforcement officers know that I'm speaking the same language that they are. They know that they're talking to somebody that understands the issues that they see out there on the streets. And that's important. To be able to have lines of communication, you got to have respect. You got to have mutual respect back and forth with each other. And I think that every law enforcement officer in this district knows that when they pick up the phone and they call Stephen Hatchett, they're going to get him, they're going to get to talk to him, and it's going to be a mutual respect situation. So that's how I would do it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, Jeff Miller, again, the question, what steps, if you were elected, would you take to strengthen the relationship with law enforcement in the 10th District?
Well, I've already said in a previous answer that I was going to make sure that the officers were heard before a plea bargain takes place or before a case is dismissed, especially one that they were involved in. We're going to have a checklist inside the file, and unless they have been informed and talked to, we're not going to move forward with that. We're going to make sure that they're heard, and we're going to meet ahead of time. We're going to talk to them. We're going to listen to them. Just the leadership style that I have gained over the years, where we get together, we talk, and we take input from everybody, all aspects of law enforcement, and we build a consensus, and then we start coming up with a plan, and then we try to execute that plan. So that's going to be, they're going to know that they're going to be listened to, they're going to know that they're going to be informed, and that they're going to matter in the job of the prosecuting criminals in the 10th Judicial District.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, next question, and Jeff, we're going to stay with you on this one. So this question also contributed to us or asked by the public. Given Bradley County is more than twice the size of the next largest county in our judicial district, what are the unique challenges that Bradley County faces compared to the rest of the district? And what approaches would you implement to address those challenges? Jeff Miller, you have 2 minutes.
Well, Bradley County is growing. A lot of people are finding the secret of Bradley County and the 10th Judicial District as a whole. All 4 counties are growing exponentially. And with that growth comes growing pains. And with that growth comes the opportunity for crime and for increased levels of crime. So we just have to stay on top of it. We have to see what's coming. We have to stay on the latest edge of the prosecutorial types of when we are talking in the consensus groups that I'm talking about. We've got to stay ahead or try to get ahead of the fentanyl dealers. We've got to stay ahead and get ahead of the violent criminals. And so that's what we're going to do.
Okay, thank you. Let's go. I'm going to go now to Sherry Taylor, and I'll repeat the question. Given Bradley County is twice the size, next largest county in the Judicial District, what are the unique challenges Bradley County faces compared to the rest of the district? What approaches would you implement to address those challenges?
Well, you know, even though Bradley County is twice the size of the other counties, and probably about 4 times the size of Polk County, each of the counties have the same issues. It's just you're going to see it more. It's going to be more. You're going to see it bigger here because there's more. I'm not using the right word that I want to use there, but it's highlighted more. We're going to see it more, but just because of the volume. The things that we have to do there is focus with we have more staff, more assistant DAs that are assigned to handle Bradley and Polk counties than we do up in McMinn and Monroe. Not by much, there's just one extra there. We'd love it if we could expand that, but the staff does a great job in handling those cases. We've also have more victim witness coordinators that are assigned in Bradley County. We have 3 down here, whereas we have 1 for Monroe and 1 for McMinn County. And that's because we see more victims because we have more volume of cases down here. And so that's what we are doing to address those special needs that you see just because of the size of the county. But that we have the same problems here with fentanyl, and we have that in McMinn and Monroe and Polk County. The same violent crimes in all 3 counties. We have the same crimes, we just have maybe a little bit more numbers here than we do up there, and so we address that with our staff so we can make sure that we're serving our public, we are meting out justice without sacrificing cases, and that's what we do.
Okay, thank you. And same question, I'll repeat it for Stephen Hatchett. Given Bradley County is more than twice the size, the next largest county in the Judicial District, what are the unique challenges that Bradley County faces compared to the rest of the district, and what approaches would you implement to address those challenges?
Bradley County, it's not just that they're twice the size. Bradley County has several unique challenges. First of all, Bradley County is close to a major metropolitan area, which is Chattanooga. Bradley County has 2 major thoroughfares, technically 3. I think 411 cuts through a tiny little part of Bradley County, but Bradley County has I-75 and Highway 11. These are major thoroughfares, and they are major thoroughfares for drug trafficking. The population of Bradley County, anytime, so here's the thing about crime. Crime is like water. It flows to the lowest point along the path of least resistance. And when you have a larger population, that crime flows through it faster. Bradley County's population is increasing. And Bradley County, when you have a population increase, you have displacement of crime. You may have had some crime patterns in the past, but those are going to change because your population's changing. When you start remodeling neighborhoods, when you start putting housing in places you didn't have it, you're going to displace crime. That's just a fact. That's a criminological fact. So the unique challenges that Bradley County has certainly do exist, but when you have challenges, you have opportunities. You have opportunities to make things better. So what do we do to implement it? Or what things do we implement? Number one, again, we go back to individualized justice. We start identifying the people on the streets that need to be off the streets. I've said this before, I'll say it again. It's a generalization. 90% of your crimes committed by 10% of your population. Doesn't matter if your population's 10,000 or 100,000. You got to find that 10%. You got to get them off the streets. So the increase in size in Bradley, absolutely. If you have bad policy, you're going to see it quicker. You have good policy, guess what? You're going to see it quicker. Thank you.
All right, and we'll have, let's do one more question, and then we're going to take our next break here. And I'm going to begin with Stephen Hatchett right here. And at any rate, so here we go. How, and I hear this, and I know we all are hearing this common theme come up quite a bit about drugs. Okay, we've heard that quite a bit. So how will you address, if elected, and Stephen Hatchett, I want to begin with you, how will you address local drug offenses and addiction? Are diversion programs appropriate? Or what alternatives are you willing to explore for nonviolent drug offenses? And we'll begin, as I said, with Stephen Hatchett, who has 2 minutes.
All right, so here's what you have to do. Number one, you have to differentiate between drug addicts and drug traffickers. And I've been consistent in that for a very long time. The research shows that intensive supervision, intensive probation works. The research shows that you can have rehabilitation programs and you can, in fact, break cycles of addiction. So as district attorney, I say this and I always put these two caveats in there. I'm all for rehabilitating drug addicts, but here's the two caveats. Number one, you can't be stealing from people, you can't be hurting from people. Once you infringe on somebody else's liberty, I don't care if you're a drug addict or not, I don't want to hear about rehabilitation, I don't want to hear it. You've injured somebody else. So there's the first caveat. Here's the second one. There comes a point where rehabilitation efforts simply will not work. If a person does not want to change, they're not going to change. So again, let's go back to individualized justice. As the district attorney, what I'm going to tell my assistant DAs is you need to be looking at these people, and when you're trying to decide what to do with them, are they ready to change? Does it appear they're ready to change? Because if they're not, then there's nothing that we can do. There's nothing we can do in the system. We have a drug court, we have mental health courts, we have, I had a great conversation with Russ Coffey with Anchor Point just last evening. We have resources, and if we can break cycles of addiction, I'm all for it. Let's do it. But we got to keep the community safe while we do it. Thank you.
All right, let's, now I'm going to go to Jeff Miller. Same question, I'll repeat it. How will you address local drug offenses and addiction? Are diversion programs appropriate, or what alternatives are you willing to explore for nonviolent drug offenses? 2 minutes, Jeff.
Thank you. And I said in my opening that what my administration is going to do is get tough on violent crime, and we're going to treat home invasions as if it's violent crime. Now, when I say treat it like violent crime, that means we're going to seek swift and severe punishment without mercy or plea bargaining. We're going to go after the maximum sentence for home invasions, because even if the person wasn't there, they feel violated when they come home and see that their possessions were rifed through. Well, that's the major reason for home invasions is drug offenses, trying to get money to buy drugs. And so if, again, that's a priority of mine. So if you've committed a home invasion to try to support your drug habit, there's not going to be any mercy for you in my administration. Now, as a Christian, I have been given what I consider the gift of discernment. And I can tell a lot about somebody in a very quick period of time. Now, I believe in the drug courts that we have currently. I believe they're doing great work. I want to continue that. and even try to expand that. I love the Veterans Court. I was a part of the implementation of that, and I think we need to continue and grow that. And those courts are very good for those type of drug offenses that you're mentioning in the question. So we need to expand those, but we need to use discernment on who, again, is capable of being rehabilitated and who cannot. And again, if you've violated someone's home, or you've hurt somebody or victimized someone, then you don't get the kind of mercy that you might if you committed another type of crime, a drug-related crime that didn't have a victim involved.
All right, thank you, sir. And now, Sherry Taylor, same question. I'll repeat it. How would you address local drug offenses and addiction? Are diversion programs appropriate, or what alternatives are you willing to explore for nonviolent drug offenses?
In 2003, I was the founding team member for the 10th Judicial Recovery Court. And recovery courts work. Those are for people that have high risk of reoffending and high risk of addiction. And that's also keeps people accountable. So if someone commits a crime and they have a high risk of addiction and high risk of reoffending, then they can come into and there are some, let me caveat that with that violent offenders can't come into recovery court. But they can come into recovery court, and it is something that addresses not only addiction, but it's also addressing housing and job skills, and it's a whole package. And it has been very successful. And that has been, we started it, forming it in 2003. It came into effect in 2004, and we're one of the top recovery courts in the state. A few years ago, we started the Veterans Treatment Court, and I got to take issue with my opponent. He had nothing to do with that. I was a founding team member of that, and it has been extremely successful. It is just like a recovery court, but it is for those that have military service, those offenders that have had military service, and it is unique in that it has a mentor, a veteran mentor that walks along beside them, which are generally retired veterans that walk along beside these offenders because they have that unique experience of military service. And that's an experience, unless you've had military service, that you don't understand. And we also work very closely with the VA to help those offenders get the treatments that they need. Work on job skills, just like in a recovery court. It has been extremely successful. And I will continue to work with that and work with the judges, both Judge Donaghy and Judge Freiberg on that. Also, we work with local. Am I out of time?
That's your time.
Okay, I didn't see this. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
I could talk about that forever. It's very important.
Okay, thank you so much. We're going to take a break right here, and I got everybody that time. I've got just making sure now. Okay. All right, so we're going to take a break here. Again, I really appreciate the candidates joining us this morning. So important. You're listening to Mix 104.1, Talk 101.3 The Buzz. You're watching us on mixtv.tv. If you're just joining us, we've got one final segment to go here. I do want to mention, if you're just joining us, you can go back and watch the full debate at mixtv.tv. All right, and do appreciate Poole Funeral Home and Cremation Services. They are sponsoring our debate series this election year, and I appreciate our sponsors who have agreed to let us have limited interruptions of this hour. So we'll do one of those limited interruptions right now, and we'll come back. We've got a final segment of our District Attorney General of the 10th District debate coming up in just a moment. Stand by.
Thank you for calling Logan Thompson. This is Ashley.
Hi, I'm Brian Poole, sole owner of Poole Serenity Funeral Home and Cremation Services of Cleveland. It's going to be more of our discount funeral home and cremation center. We'll offer $895 cremation that will come with a wood urn. Only other charges the family have be for death certificates and permits. That's it. No other hidden charges, no other hidden fees. And we have a traditional burial package, $4,595. That does include a casket and the services. You can reach us at www.pfhserenity.com.
Paula, tell us about how you came to shop at Chattanooga Auto Square.
Well, I was introduced to it from my husband. He purchased his first Range Rover years ago. Then occasionally I'd start asking him if I could start driving it. I would confidently recommend them. I mean, they make you feel like family from the moment you arrive. Being in real estate for like 34 years, you really come to value and appreciate the level of service that Range Rover gives you. Chattanooga Auto Square, luxury lives here.
You're watching Mix Mornings on Mix TV. Here is your current Kia of Cleveland time. And your current temperature is brought to you by Simply Bank.
Visit our website for more details. Bradley County Schools, where we're growing students and building futures.
All right, thank you very much. 9 minutes before 9 a.m. You're listening to Mix 104.1. We're on mixtv.tv. We're also on Talk 101.3 The Buzz. We only have a few more minutes left. Again, I really appreciate our candidates for District Attorney General in the 10th Judicial District for joining us. You can vote early. Again, go to the, especially here in Bradley County, go to the website. We've had some couple of changes in early voting locations. You need to be aware of that, bradleyelections.com. But again, that's through February 27th. Election Day is March the 5th. All right, I tell you what, I got a couple of more questions and we'll have our closing statements here. And I'm gonna, we've had a couple of questions that sort of have to do with each other. And Sherry Taylor, I want to begin with you on this. We had one question come in that said, what role does the DA have in criminal justice reform? But I think we could put along with that, or maybe some trends that you see in criminal activity in this judicial district. So it's a couple of parts of that question, really. One is, what role does the DA have in criminal justice reform? And then, what are some of the trends you're seeing in criminal activity as it pertains to the district? Sherry Taylor, we're going to begin with you.
Let me start with activity, because quite frankly, that's a little bit easier. You know, the criminal activity that we see, obviously, is what we've all been talking about, is the drug activity. When I started, you know, the drugs that we saw were like cocaine, and then it went into methamphetamine, and then we see opioids. But this fentanyl is something that we've never seen before. It is extremely dangerous, not just to the person that is using it, but then others that are around it. And you know, we've seen overdose deaths have been high. It was high because of opioid use, but then the trend that we see is that that's coming down, but the overdose rate is still up, and that's because fentanyl has replaced the opiates. And so we've got to do what we can. And I tell you, the Drug Task Force has been phenomenal with that. Just last year, they seized over 30,000 dosage units of fentanyl. That means 30,000 people in the 10th Judicial District didn't overdose because the Drug Task Force seized that off the street. That's not including what the other agencies in the 10th Judicial District have seized off the streets. So that's the criminal activity, I think the most important criminal activity that we see going on. Now, the criminal justice reforms, there are several things that can happen there, but most of that happens in the legislature. And we have the District Attorney General's Conference, where all the 32 elected DAs come together. We propose legislation. We talk with our legislators to help change things. One of the things that we want to see is more truth in sentencing. When someone receives a 10-year sentence to serve, that doesn't mean that's what they're going to get every time. And so we want there to be truth in sentencing. So when we're sitting down with a victim and we say, hey, this is what the sentence is, but what that in actuality means is, 5 years, not 10 years. We want truth in sentencing.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to go now, Stephen Hanchett, to you, and I'll repeat the question here. So, what role does the district attorney have in criminal justice reform? And then, as part of the question, and another part of it, what trends do you see in criminal activity that the DA's office should address?
So the big trend right now, and Ms. Taylor touched on it, is the drug problem, but it's specific, and it's the reason that I put out the plan that I put out. So when I started as a prosecutor, you had meth labs. You had people, trailers blowing up because they were cooking meth. You had shake and bake bottles. You had to warn kids about finding on the playgrounds. You had people planting acres and acres of marijuana. And that's changed now. 99% of the drugs in our community are imports. And because they are imports, they are subject to market disruption just like any other economic activity. And the fact that they are imports, the fact that these drugs are pouring in, the fact that fentanyl is pouring in, right now across the 10th Judicial District you can buy fentanyl for about $2, $3. We've never seen that. Okay, we have never seen that. Now, we knew fentanyl was dangerous. I prosecuted a fentanyl case for second-degree murder way back in 2010. So we knew fentanyl was dangerous. It's not that we didn't know that. But we've never had it pouring in at the rate it's pouring in now. So that's the trend. As far as the DA being able to make reforms, I actually have asked the General Assembly to codify my plan to make it an increased punishment for crossing any of the county lines coming into our district. And the reason for that is because this is being imported. You do have it's a once in a, I've said this and I mean it. We have a once in a generation chance to change things in our district. And we change it by attacking the drugs coming across our borders. We can't do anything about the southern border. We can protect ours. So there is a trend. There is something the DA can do to help make reform. Thank you.
All right, sir. Jeff Miller, I want to repeat the question. First of all, what role does the DA have in criminal justice reform? And then, what are some of the trends you see as far as criminal activity that the DA's office should address?
Thank you. First, before I answer that question, I have to go back to my opponent said that I had nothing to do with the Veterans Court. I serve on the Ocoee Region Veterans Council, and Robert Donaghy, Judge Donaghy's husband, heads that group, and we acted in an advisory capacity when the Veterans Court was founded. I'm very, very committed to our veterans. I have done pro bono work for veterans, helping them get their pension benefits. I don't charge anything for that, and we've helped countless veterans get their estate plans in order to be able to get those benefits and maximize those benefits. So I take a little bit of offense at my opponent discounting that. However, all right, so I'm uniquely qualified to be involved in justice reform because of my past experience as a legislator. I can talk the talk over in Nashville. I know how to get legislation introduced and passed. I know what it takes, and I can do that. I can work with our DA's conference. I can work with our legislators. Many of them I still know very, very well and have their numbers in my phone. And so I can do that very well. We've got to stay ahead. I'm not copycatting the answers, but it's just the truth that our greatest challenge right now is the fentanyl crisis. They are getting innovative. They're using UPS, they're using FedEx to ship those drugs into our district. They're using drones to fly over our jail yards and drop them into the jail yard. So we've got to become innovative in what we do and how we approach this topic. So I will work with the legislature. I will create reforms. And a good example of that, my opponent brought up the meth labs. Yes, we had a real problem in the 10th Judicial District with meth, as the whole state of Tennessee. And as your state senator, I addressed that. We reformed the laws so that you had to go behind the counter to get Sudafed and the ingredients to cook meth. That has had a huge impact on that crisis that we were involved in.
That's time. Thank you, Jeff. All right, one last question, and then we're going to give the candidates 2 minutes for their closing statements. All right, so what we want to do now, we had a couple of questions come in, and once again, I'm going to kind of combine these actually. What would be your opinion? What's the weakest part of the current DA's office? Now, you say the current. What would you change? Let's say it that way. What would you change about the DA's office? And then what is the strongest part of the DA's office? Okay, so as it stands now, what would you do to potentially change things, or what? And then we'll just put it in plain English. What would you keep? What is strong about it? All right. So for this, I'm going to begin with Stephen Hatchett.
So the strongest part of the DA's office, there's some good folks working over there. They do a good job. They do the best job they can. I think they've been hamstrung with some policies, and it's kept them from being able to exercise discretion in the courtroom. You can't have cookie cutter policies, and that's honestly been one of the weakest parts of the DA's office. Is when you have cookie cutter justice. All right, here's this blanket policy, and it must be. It doesn't work. You have to have individualized justice. Now, we've talked about the importance of communicating with law enforcement. I'll let the law enforcement community express their grievances with the voters, because I know they are. As far as being communicated with, I'll let the victims express their grievances with the voters, because I know they are. As far as not being communicated with. So there are certainly those issues. But the main thing that we have to do is we have to move forward. Okay, that's what we have to do. We have to move forward into the future. I'm not as much at talking about past as I am the future, because we have challenges. We have things that have to be tackled, and we've got to do that. So I would say, as in any organization, the strongest part are the people. The weakest part are the bureaucratic functions that weaken the people. Thank you.
Jeff Miller, same question. Basically, what's in your opinion, what would you do to change anything, improve anything? And then what is a strong point of the DA's office, and what would you keep if elected?
Well, everybody's heard of the example of the double-edged sword. The strongest thing about the DA's office right now is its people. It has good employees, good people there. And I don't plan to change anybody that wants to stay. They will have a job in my administration. However, there's changes that need to be made. They need to have that little checklist in the inside of the files that they notify victims before they plead bargain down. They need to notify the officer before they plead bargain down or dismiss a case. So those are changes that I'm going to make immediately. They're going to be heard, they're going to be listened to, and we're going to be tough. And when I hear individualized justice, it sort of smacks of favoritism. It smacks of what's happening to Donald Trump right now, individualized justice. I don't think that that's what the 10th Judicial expects and deserves. I believe they need even-handed justice. If you commit the crime and it's a light crime, you're going to get treated the same no matter what your lot in life is or where you came from. I don't like the fact of the individualized justice because it smacks of favoritism. And I think that's where one of my opponents has come from, an administration, 8 years of favoritism. And I just don't think that's where we need to go back. I want to move out of that and not go back to the days that political enemies were targeted, where individualized justice, so to speak, was taking place in this district. That's not what we need.
All right, thank you, sir. Sherry Taylor, so at the questions contributed here, as at the DA's office, what's strong about it? What would you change about it?
The people that work for me are incredible people. I had my hand in hiring most everybody that was there. I know what their abilities are, and I have seen them flourish in this job. They are good people that understand what justice is, and that they seek that for victims, and they seek that for the community. They are the strongest, they are the backbone of this office. I have watched them tirelessly stay after hours, contacting victims, contacting officers. So I take real issue with all these attacks on them, that they're not doing their jobs, because they absolutely are doing their jobs. Now, is there room for improvement? There's always room for improvement, no matter what job setting you're in. We can always do things better. And this office, this staff, strives to do it. Whether they are an assistant DA, whether they are a criminal investigator, a victim witness coordinator, or a secretary paralegal. Those men and women work tirelessly. They do anything that is asked of them. And I am extremely proud of them. And I'll tell you this, and I think this speaks to me. When General Crump decided to resign, there were one person retired, another person went down to Hamilton County to be a prosecutor there. Another just left and went to a public defender's office in Hamilton County. The night I was appointed, I got a phone call from that one that went to the public defender's office, and he asked if he could come back. I said, absolutely, because you are a good prosecutor, and I have watched you grow over the past 5 years in this office, and I immediately took him back. The fact that he wanted to come and work for me, and then I've been able to hire 3 or 4 more assistant DAs to come work for me, knowing that there is this election going on, I think that speaks to not only my abilities, but to my leadership in this office.
All right. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. All right, so now we are going to go to closing statements. And again, I really appreciate our candidates for agreeing to be here this morning and to present their ideas and their thoughts to you. So these are 2-minute closing statements, and we're going to begin with Jeff Miller. Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you again, Steve and Bridget. Thank you for having this debate today. And thank you, those of you that have listened and are watching on Mixed TV. I come before you humbly and ask you for your vote for District Attorney. I feel like I'm uniquely qualified. I have experience in the courtroom. I know how to present evidence. I know how to lead. And I think that I'm uniquely qualified to lead this district where it needs to go and the challenges, to face the challenges that we have with our growing population. We're going to have increased crime opportunities. We need to stay ahead of that. I know how to do that, and I would seek your vote. Now, I'm not going to weaponize this office. I'm not going to go after enemies. I'm not going to individualize justice. We're going to treat everybody similar. We're going to apply the law across the board. It doesn't matter who you are or where you came from. You're going to get the same treatment. If you violated the law, you're going to get the same treatment as anybody else. Thank you very much.
All right, Sherry Taylor, your closing statement, 2 minutes.
I want to start this by answering a question. I didn't get to the first question. What is my greatest achievement? As district attorney, as an assistant DA, my greatest achievement is seeking justice every day. For those that have come into the system, whether they are a victim, if they are law enforcement, or even if they are a criminal that I'm holding accountable, that justice that I seek and that I get, that is my greatest achievement. 25 years I've been prosecuting. I don't have to learn how to do this job. I know how to do this job. I've been doing this job. When Governor Lee had his appointment process, all 3 of us applied. And I was chosen because I'm the most qualified. And, we didn't just apply because we applied. We applied because we all wanted this job, obviously because we're all running. But as I said, I applied for this job and I received this job because I'm the most qualified. Now I'm asking you to elect me to this job because I am the most qualified. I'm the most qualified of 25 years of prosecutorial experience, over 126 jury trials. I know how to do this job. I know how to hold criminals accountable. I've been doing it my whole career, and I will continue to do that. I know how to work with law enforcement. I care about victims. It is very important for a victim to trust the district attorney, to know how to do her job and to walk alongside them through the darkest days of their lives as they go through this system. And I do that, and I'm committed to that, and I will always do that. And I ask you for your vote on March 5th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, closing statement from Stephen Hatchett. Stephen?
Thank you, Steve and Bridget, for hosting this. I appreciate Brian Poole sponsoring it. This race, honestly, is about experience, and this debate actually highlighted some of the differences between the three of us. Mr. Miller just said he didn't believe in or wasn't going to apply individualized justice. Well, as a prosecutor, the law requires you to do that. Apparently, he's never read the sentencing laws. Apparently, he's not aware that you are required. If you're going to seek enhanced punishment, you have to express the particular reasons. You have to file that. If you want to ask for aggravating factors, you have to file it. You have to identify the individual reasons for that person, why they should be treated the way they're treated by the judges. Folks, experience matters. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. If you've never been a prosecutor, this ain't a time for on-the-job training. It's just not. We have serious challenges in this community, and you have to have a district attorney that can go to work on day one. And it really is just that simple. So I appreciate everybody listening. I appreciate everybody watching. I would appreciate everybody's vote. Early voting is going. Voting's kind of low. Please go out to vote. A lot of folks fought, bled, died for the right to vote. Don't give that up. It's important. Please go vote, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for coming. We really appreciate it. I know the public appreciates it. It is just so important to have your ideas out, and I appreciate you coming in this morning. I really do. All right, so let me give you a reminder quickly, and that is you can go back to just joining us, Mix 104.1, Talk 101.3 The Buzz, MixTV.tv. You can go back and watch the full debate at MixTV.tv. Again, a big thank you to Poole Funeral Home and Cremation Services for sponsoring this debate. We'll be doing these debates throughout the election year. A reminder, you can vote early at, sorry, I lost my train of thought. What were we saying?
Vote early at the voting location.
Yeah, vote early at the early voting locations through February the 27th. Election day is March the 5th. We'll have full coverage that night. For all of us at Mix 104.1 and MixTV.tv, have a great day, everybody.
Dairy, celebrating 100 years of the iconic